Are you in or are you out? That is what Donald Trump is now going to decide. The president-elect has named his chief of staff on Thursday. The brass ring goes to Susie Wiles, a co-campaign chair. She has been named White House chief of staff. Trump hailed Wiles, 67, as tough, smart, innovative, universally admired, and respected. He also called her his, quote, ice baby. Trump reveled in naming the first ever female chief of staff in United States history.
He has made very clear on X that critics need not raise their hands and loyalists are the only ones he will consider. On Truth Social, he announced that he would not be inviting Ambassador Nikki Haley or former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to join the administration, which is currently in formation. Make America great again.
He's also named Tom Homan border czar. The former police officer was acting director of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, in Trump's first term, and he's also advocated a zero-tolerance stance on the border issue. He supports mass deportations.
And CBS News confirmed that. New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik has been offered the job of UN ambassador. She is known for her tough questioning and defense of Trump at hearings, but she has little experience in foreign policy, unlike past Democratic ambassadors whose careers were spent in foreign diplomacy. Trump and his new wingman, Elon Musk, both endorsed Republican Senator Rick Scott to take the leadership reins from Mitch McConnell. It is also becoming very clear that Musk is playing the role of consigliere. So what's your take, Robby?
I don't know if he's the well, this is the question is he the consigliere or is Trump the
consigliere? Exactly.
Is Elon Musk the shadow president? I think it's interesting to see. And it delights me. I think it's just wonderful. All right, where do you want to start? So many of our viewers, many in the kind of populist or libertarian side of things, are delighted to hear that Nikki Haley will not have a role in the administration. She is, whatever her stance toward Trump, which has changed a gazillion times, against, for, part of the administration, outside the administration, running against him, endorsing him, etc. She's taken every stance known to man. She remains, on policy, a committed neoconservative, and there is a lot of concern that those people, just like in the first administration, were going to actually be making policy. But this time, Trump seems to be listening to people like Elon and others who said, no, we're not going to be doing that. So he said, thanks, but no thanks. No neocons in the cabinet. So,
I think he's learned a lot from last time. That's what folks are reporting on, to my fears. And I think maybe Nikki Haley thought, not very wise, that she could still maneuver her way back in and maybe control him. I think that is their fear. Steve Bannon's advising on the outside right now. Of course, he was the chief of staff at one point, at that point at least. And they want to learn the lessons of last time. They want to make sure that he can control whatever he can control and keep his strategy on point. And that includes potentially having a Senate leader in Rick Scott. Just some names of folks that have come out supporting Rick Scott. You got Tucker Carlson, Elon Musk, RFK Jr., Vivek Ramaswamy, Charlie Kirk, Matt Schlapp, and then Marco Rubio has come out and supported him. But the issue with the Senate, unlike pretty much everything else, is that senators it's a secret ballot. Senators don't really have to respond to the pressure from the outside because many of these senators are not up for re-election until 2028 or just aren't going to run at all. So, there's other names like John Cornyn and John Thune are the front runners also right now. Will the Senate remain institutionalized? It's the margins are very small. So clearly a couple of senators here or there on the Republican side, if they're not in support,
I predict Scott's going to win it.
You still think so?
Oh, absolutely. Look, there actually isn't that much of a fundamental difference between these three individuals in terms of what policies they want the Republican Party to stand for, what direction they want the party to go to. The only differences are how readily and how quickly. I mean, they've all embraced Trump, obviously. Yeah. You're just not in the Republican Party now if you haven't. Rick Scott's perceived as having been a little bit closer to Trump on those things. Otherwise, I don't think there's a sizable enough difference. I don't think there's a reason to go out on a limb. I know it is a secret ballot, but I think it's just going to be Scott.
What is happening with Marco Rubio? I'm so curious about how he's been able to maneuver his way back into Trump's favor. What's the secret sauce there?
Marco Rubio is another figure who I consider to be ideologically a neocon. That's what he comes from. That's what he cared most about, foreign policy. And he correctly perceived that Trump was hostile to that ideology and was thus very against him from the start. But you have no future in the Republican Party if you're hostile to Trump, and he wants to continue to have a future. And he has made nice with Trump subsequently since then over the years. I don't agree with a lot of his foreign policies. He has moved in a more populist direction as well on trade and tariffs and economics that is not quite my ball of wax. So I kind of find him an insincere figure and sincere on things I don't agree with him on. So if I were Trump, I would also keep him at arm's length a little bit, but he has successfully maneuvered himself back into Trump's good graces.
He has tiny hands.
And he has what?
Tiny hands.
Marco does?
Remember the whole debate in 2016?
There's a whole analysis of body parts and
It's
everything
really
that I barely remember.
Trump is also saying that he's going to do recess appointments. Of course, we don't know what the Senate makeup's going to be yet. We don't really know exactly.
Well, we know that there's going to be a Republican majority.
Yes.
Right? They're up to 53.
But we don't know who.
Pickups in Pennsylvania and Montana and where else?
Pennsylvania, Casey. That's a big loss for Democrats.
Yes.
Huge loss.
Yeah, and these were all close. Democrats came within just a hair of having like 3 more lost seats,
right.
which would have been starting to get up into approaching the 60 mark, which is when policy really starts to get wild. Then you're having fun with it. Then you're just doing whatever you want.
We haven't felt that in 40 years.
We haven't felt that since Obama's brief time where he had the 60 votes.
And he did nothing with them.
Well,
he did
Obamacare.
Sort of, and he had a fight internally. I mean, so much of us wanted a different Obamacare, but he also cut all the money from the DNC. We lost a bunch of legislative seats, 1,200 legislative seats.
Dearly.
So great strategy there. But with that being said, okay, so say the Republicans, they're holding everything and everyone becomes a MAGA Republican overnight. I still don't believe that the whole Republican Party, because many people want to be in office in 4 years or more, so they want to look to the future. I still don't believe that everyone's going to line up and be a MAGA Republican. Also,
they already have.
But here's something, you just said something very astute in that, yes, it is a very red map, but when you start to look at, especially the swing districts, the margins were very close. Now, they were not swinging in the right direction, so the numbers, what was projected with Harris's data was probably about 4 points off, and was projected with Donald Trump's data was probably 4 points off also, but in the other direction, because he thought he was going to get a much bigger win. So what that does to a senator or a congressperson is they know those margins are super close. And if you're a Republican in Long Island, or if you're a Republican in Arizona, in a more independent area, or in another part of the country, maybe California, you may not be able to be as MAGA as you think.
Well, but I think my read on the situation is that being MAGA doesn't really hurt you. Being associated with Trump doesn't hurt you. In fact, it helps you. Trump, as we're talking about with Dave Weigel of Semaphore today, Trump did better than the normal Republican candidate, or whatever that is, in a lot of places. I think what the party has done under Trump, honestly, is moderate its stances on some issues. Now, I know that sounds crazy to hear.
You're right, on some issues.
The rhetoric on immigration and all of that, but the public opinion on immigration is so far to the right now.
Yeah.
What Trump has moderated the party on is entitlements, economics, made it more culturally working class, or made Republicans popular among disproportionately male but ordinary people and minority people, and the massive pickups with Latinos and I just saw with Native Americans. Trump won Native Americans. That's a softening of the Republican Party's image, a moderating that has taken place under Trump. So to be perceived as MAGA is to be perceived as an extremist if you're in the mainstream media, but does not resonate as extremism with a lot of ordinary people. I mean,
until they lose their Obamacare, until their Social Security benefits.
Well, if those happen, then yes. Yeah. If those things happen, sure. But Trump has said we're only replacing Obamacare if we're replacing it with something that works even better and is even better. He doesn't have any
concepts of a plan.
All right. But I think that goes to show you he said he could do anything, who knows, but he said he's not just getting rid of it. That's something Republicans had vowed to do for forever. He said he's not going to do that.
Don't worry, because Project 2025 is back in. They care. As soon as that election ended, they're like, welcome back to the table, Project 2025.
Yes. And I joked, execute Project 2025. It shall be done, Lord Sidious. Viewers know what I'm talking about. Well, there are some things in there I like just fine. I hope we get rid of the education department tomorrow, but not everything. One other name I wanted to mention is this is the who's he going to appoint blocks, is we're talking a lot about who's going to be Secretary of State. I've heard Vivek Ramaswamy. I've also heard Rick Grinnell. I think that is the most likely choice, former ambassador to Germany under Trump, and ardent Trump loyalist, someone really liked by Trump himself and Trump's inner circle. I predict that will be the choice.
And like so many that gained their experience in the last Trump administration, started off as a cable news commentator, who was a communications person for a couple candidates, but absolutely zero experience in state. But now we have some.
But we're breaking intersectional ground. We have the first female chief of staff. Rick Grinnell would be the first openly gay Secretary of State. And, we're just, it's a historic moment. Shouldn't the progressives be happy? We're checking all those nice little boxes, and it's
actual
wonderful.
Experience, too. It's not just that your identity. It's that people in places where they've worked hard should also, we should have equal.
I just love breaking glass ceilings and pink ceilings.
Glass tables.
And ceilings of all sorts of things. I just like when the ceiling collapse is on all of us.
Stability ceilings, global world order ceilings.
We've got a lot more to discuss on Rising today. Still more fallout to process. Stay with us.